Hello, Uta here of Trans Widow Uta Hagen YouTube channel and WordPress blog, utahagengrasswidow.wordpress.com. Always in the notes, and the contact form there at the blog is your way to get in touch with me. If you want to tell your story of your cross-sex identifying ex-husband, sibling, father, or even child. I will start doing some profiles of the mothers as well. Oh, these are my asters, now in bloom, and which I've proudly spread out in a few places, like over in my mini prairie. They are growing through the fence, and they are late bloomers, and they attract so many bees and butterflies. And we're going to share the screen here. Yes. So, this is our episode about the upcoming documentary by Will Ferrell and his friend Harper called Will and Harper, except Harper actually is a man who at the age of 61 decided that he's not a man. And so you can watch him. I'm probably not going to see it, although I'm sure there will be trailers for, I think it's a Netflix series actually. And so that's a man who at the age of 61 decided to do what my ex-husband Nettie did. And they travel around the country gaslighting people, I guess. Um, and so that's really all about that. But I want everyone to know that although we could go, I'm so tired of this. Um, we also could say, aha, but that will give those of us who are on X lots of opportunities to put in links to Uta's channel or to Vaishnavi's epic documentary, Profiling 18 Trans Widows Behind the Looking Glass, at Lime Soda Films YouTube channel, where it now has garnered over 112,000 views in just 2 weeks. It just came out exactly 2 weeks ago today. And let's see. Yes, the next thing was this individual who is a man named Mridul Wadwha, who was, until apparently earlier today, the director of the Edinburgh Rape Crisis Center called the ERCC. And he is a man from India who goes around in appropriating sort of Indian style femaleness by wearing saris and that type of thing. And now he's had to resign because there was a tribunal ruling against him because he fired one of the female counselors there when she had said she feels that a rape victim should be able to know the sex of her counselor who's supposed to help her in this nonprofit agency. And I guess this Mr. Wadwha would not even refer women to the new crisis center that was started by J.K. Rowling for only women, with only women on staff. And that's called Beera's Place, after some mythical old lady kind of a creature in Celtic mythology. And then the main course of this episode today is about the so-called transgender athlete in the Paralympics, Valentina Petrillo, or I don't know if it's pronounced Petrillo or Petrillo. And this is an article by Nick Pisa and Miriam Cupper from the Daily Mail. And so this was a runner who only 7 years ago or something like that, in his late 40s, decided, just like this Harper from Will and Harper Netflix series, and just like Mridul Wadwha from the resignation at the Rape Crisis Center, he has decided to identify himself as female, and in the Special Olympics called the Paralympics, was competing in the female category. So this is the article. I simply will correct where they have misgendered or misidentified this man, whose original name was Fabrizio, as a woman. And I will change all the she's and hers to he and his. Transgender athlete Valentina Petrillo has shared astonishing photos from before he transitioned, as he gears up to compete in the Paralympics tonight. I guess this was 6th of September, so that's a little over a week ago. The pictures show Valentino, then called Fabrizio, with a receding hairline, a striking difference to the thick blonde locks he has been sporting since transitioning, and a tight smile posing for the camera, often clad in athletic gear. Now, we can tell from the pictures that our dear Fabrizio / Valentina has not had surgery below the waist, but good for him. That's very important, because we know a high percentage detransition. So at least he'll have his urinary tract intact. Petrillo sparked fury from politicians in his native Italy, as well as from author J.K. Rowling, who called him an out and proud cheat when his qualification for the Paralympics was revealed, having raced as a man until 7 years ago. I'm not bothered by what J.K. Rowling or anyone else says. I'm just here for myself and my family. There's a lot of transphobia out there, and I'm here only to compete, and I'm ignoring that outside noise. The visually impaired runner, now 51, also shared his wedding photo with now ex-wife Elena in his exclusive interview with Mail Online ahead of his 200-meter semifinal. Petrillo married Elena in 2016 before coming out as transgender the following year, and starting to transition in 2019. The couple, who share a 9-year-old son called Lorenzo, have since gotten divorced. But my understanding is they're kind of living under the same roof or in the same compound or something like that, which I don't recommend. During their marriage, Elena supported Petrillo with his transition and even gave him makeup tips. We would go out shopping together for women's clothes, and she would put my makeup on. In the end, we divorced, but we still live together in Bologna. We are still a family, and Lorenzo calls me Daddy. Well, at least there's that. Okay, and I was not able to print out any pictures, but you can look up this person. He's plastered all over the place. And he went into, I don't know, 3 or 4 of the women's races, from the 200 to the 400 meters in length. Naples-born Petrillo added about his marriage to Elena: "We met almost 20 years ago in McDonald's after I had moved to Bologna, and it was love at first sight for both of us, and our story was complete with the birth of our son and our marriage in 2016. Okay. But I knew I was still fighting what was inside me, and when Elena would go out, oh, when Elena would go out, I would wear her clothes. I would put on her nail varnish and her lipstick and makeup. She had no idea. Okay. In the end, when I told her, she thought it was a phase at first. She thought it was something I would grow out of, and that had started with the death of my mother. Trauma and grief often start this feeling, but eventually she realized it wasn't. We would go out shopping together for women's clothes, and she would put my makeup on. In the end, we divorced, but we still live together in Bologna. We are still a family. Da da da. That's repeating that part. That actually was repeated in the article, not just me. Elena and I love each other, but it's a different love. We know that we can't have a physical relationship and she is a partner, but we are all together for Lorenzo, and they are my two biggest loves. Well, okay. I guess there's a stepdad in the picture. I guess that's good for Lorenzo. In her exclusive interview with his exclusive interview with Mail Online in Paris, Petrillo ignored what he calls the haters and has now qualified for the semifinals of the T12 200 meters. Okay, the favorite distance with the best season time of 25.95 seconds. Okay. On the Facebook page, the slogan is better a slow but happy woman than a fast but sad man. Okay, that doesn't make sense to me. For me to be in Paris, the culmination of a dream I've had ever since I was a child, and to have my ex-wife and son with me here is fantastic. I want to make them so proud, especially little Lorenzo. When I was growing up, it was in a tough neighborhood. There was crime and drugs, and I had to run home just to be safe. And that's what got me interested in athletics. But inside, I knew I felt different to other boys. Well, it's okay. So he recently had grief of his mother's death. Then we find out that he had a trauma and violence filled childhood. He continues, my best friend, Desiree, was a girl, and we played together all the time. I would be the girl, and she would be the boy. But she grew out of it as she got older and became a woman, and we lost touch. But I always felt happier, in quotes, as a woman. Okay. I couldn't do anything about it. I had a cousin who came out as trans when I was younger, and his father kicked him out of the house. I didn't want that to happen to me because I knew it would have a negative effect on me. When I was younger, I was actually a very macho male. I suppose I was trying to fight against what I felt inside, but those feelings of being a woman inside a man's body always won out. I think the guy is 6 foot tall. Petrillo is allowed to compete at the Paralympics because his testosterone levels are below the legal limit required to compete, thanks to hormone treatment, and he has been given the green light by the sport's governing body. The Olympics being complete pushovers when it comes to men wanting to play in the women's teams. His passport, which he obtained last year, lists him as a woman, and he says nothing will stop him achieving his dream. A person who is legally recognized as a woman, is eligible to compete in the category their impairment qualifies them for. So this is track for the visually impaired. Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling said, why all the anger about the inspirational Petrillo? The cheat community has never had this kind of visibility. Out and proud cheats like Petrillo prove the era of cheat shaming is over. TV host Piers Morgan joined in the furor, calling his participation an utter farce and a genuinely existential threat to the integrity of women's sport. And I can't think of the name now, but I did put out the name in community notes of a Spanish woman who was pushed out of this competition because of Petrillo being a finalist. Uh, Rowling continues, what a role model. I say we give disgraced cyclist Lance Armstrong his medals back. This is Lance Armstrong, the winner of the Tour de France several times, who had all of his medals taken away because he was doping. Okay. Before coming out as trans, he competed as a man in races across Italy and won 12 domestic titles. And he shared pictures of himself on the winner's podium, images which will no doubt fuel anger over the decision to allow him to race. I mean, I don't care about the old pictures. I just care that he's a biological male who is taking the place of a female. Petrillo said, I don't see why people are saying I have an advantage. I'm an athlete, a female athlete, and I'm competing in my chosen sport. Let's play dumb. Not all men are strong and not all women are weak. That's what I say to my critics. But I'm not one for polemics. I leave that to politicians and the haters. I have been perfectly transparent. I have nothing to hide. My passport says I'm a woman, and that means I can compete as a woman. I am not breaking any rules, and I intend to for as long as I can. I'm fighting prejudice against transgender people. It's not fair that we are attacked and discriminated against for who we are. There is such a fear of trans people like me, but I hope by speaking out I can normalize the situation and get rid of this fear. And then what will also happen is that we won't have women's sports at all anymore. Oh, he's a computer programmer. Isn't that so interesting? I wonder what the percentage is of these dudes who work in tech, like so many of the ex-husbands of the trans widows that I profile here on the channel, and like my ex-husband. He added, it should be about inclusion both in the Olympics and Paralympics, well, of course, and all the way down the line. We need to find a solution for people to compete as how they are and feel. So, let's have a how they are and feel category. You do your own category. Because I think women's sports is probably going to have to go underground. For me, it's not about being trans. It's about taking part in a sport I love. Sport is all about inclusion and not exclusion. He continues, I'm not bothered what J.K. Rowling or anyone else says. I'm just here for myself and my family. Very clearly, he does not care about the women he has displaced from medaling in all of the races he's entered in the female category. I'm not bothered what J.K. Rowling or anyone else says. I'm just here for myself and my family. There's a lot of transphobia out there, and I'm here only to compete and ignoring that outside noise. And so this is the true tale of how a narcissist pretends to be helping people. Oh, yes, and there is my bouquet of the Jowie Winnies, which looked to me such a kind of dark mauve color this morning, but as they open, there's this yellow luminescent inside each of the petals, and I just so enjoy that. And I think the variety name of these asters is Honey Song Pink. All right, so be sure to spend time out in nature. Don't forget to count the butterflies, take walks, take care of yourselves, and their nonsense will continue to surface, and we will prevail.